found me when I was broken, put me back together, gave me life. Fire, you were there. You're the sun to the moon. You're my ocean, painted blue. There's something about you, like an angel in a night. Open up my eyes, looking in all the wrong places. Now I found I need you in my life. You're the sun to the moon. You're my ocean, painted blue. There's something about you. How you guys doing this morning? You doing good? Let's sing this out. You're the air in my lungs. You're the veins to do my blood. Yeah, you. There's something about you. You're the sun to the moon. You're my ocean, painted blue. There's something about you. You're the light in the dark. Find you on my heart. There's something about you. There's something about you. Something about you. Something about you.
Here we go again, my mind racing, and I can't seem to win. All these crazy thoughts and feelings, it's like it never ends until your voice breaks through my noise. I know I'm not alone, not alone. Away with the distractions, I wanna hear what's true. The only words that matter, they come from you. I'll just be quiet and let you speak through the silence. Here I am, no more hiding. You are in this moment, I won't fight it. I'll be quiet. I don't need to know what comes next. Tomorrow's in your hands. I can trust you with my future. You're already there. I hear your voice call me forward, and I know I'm not alone. I'm not alone. Away with the distractions, I wanna hear what's true. The only words that matter. moment, I won't fight it. I'll be quiet, I'll just be quiet and let you speak through the silence. Here I am, no more hiding. You are in this moment, I won't fight it. I'll be quiet. Oh. Quiet, God, you're here in the silence. Here I am, no more hiding. You are in this moment, I won't fight it. I'll be quiet.
The atmosphere is changing now, for the Spirit of the Lord is here. The evidence is all around, and the Spirit of the Lord is here. The atmosphere is changing now, for the Spirit of the Lord is here. The evidence is all around, that the Spirit of the Lord is here. Overflow in this place, fill our hearts with your love. Your love surrounds us. You're the reason we came to encounter your love. Your love surrounds us. The atmosphere is changing now, for the Spirit of the Lord is here. The evidence is all around, that the Spirit of the Lord is here. Come on. The atmosphere is changing now, for the Spirit of the Lord is here. The evidence is all around, that the Spirit of the Lord is here. Overflow in this place, fill our hearts with your love. Your love surrounds us. You're the reason we came to encounter your love. Your love surrounds us. Overflow in this place, fill our hearts with your love. Your love surrounds us. You're the reason we came to encounter your love. Your love surrounds us. Surrounded by your love. fall fresh on us. We need your presence, Lord. Your kingdom come, your will be done here as in heaven. Spirit of God, fall fresh on us. We need your presence. Your kingdom come, your will be done here as in heaven. Spirit of God, fall fresh on us. We need your presence. Your kingdom come, your will be done here as in when it feels like the dawn lingers longer than the night, when the shadows feel like giants, are you chasing me down? Tell me, where could I run from your light? Where could I hide? And within your precious thoughts, there's no hiding from your love. Highs and lows, Lord, you're with me either way it goes. Should I rise or should I fall? Even so, Lord, your mercy is an even flow. You're too good to let me go. Should I dance on the heights or make my bed among the depths? Your mercy waits at every end, like you planned it from the start. Should the dark
secrets you let me go.
There's a simplicity, humility to the way you love me, an honesty, a purity. God, you make it easy. No special words, no formulas could ever win you over, for your love is undeserved. And even when I can't see clearly, somehow you still make it easy. Your love's uncomplicated. You love me just the way I am. So I stand before you. I'm totally surrendered, with open hands and open heart. Jesus, have your way in me. Jesus, have your way in me. Brokenness, my loneliness, in the secrets you see, my deepest thoughts, my hidden wrongs. God, you see right through me, even when I'm overthinking. But somehow you still love me simply. Your love's not complicated. You love me just the way I am. So I stand before you. I'm totally surrendered, with open hands and open heart. Jesus, have your way. Jesus, have your way. I could sing over and over, I love you, it never grows old. How could I tell you enough that I love you, Lord? I can sing over and over, I love you, it never grows old. How could I tell you enough that I love you, Lord? character, simplicity, humility, to the way you love me. Thank you for singing out with us. Enjoy the rest of the service.
Well, good morning, Suncoast. It's good to be here with you guys this morning. So that video is just an amazing, you guys have done so much this year, and we just want to thank you. And I love being a part of this community so much. You guys are so great. So, just to piggyback off of that, we had our oil change yesterday. It went extremely well. So we do that once a month. It's a free oil change. It's a way we give back to our community. So sign up, and we'll have another one next month. It's not March yet, right? Tomorrow. All right. And then another exciting thing, because we are in the last week of our value series. Have you guys been enjoying the value series? It's been a great way to set up this year and kind of realign our values for 2021. But we've got our next series coming up, and it's called Paradigm Shift. And week 1, we'll be speaking on the Abraham story. The next week will be Moses. Then week 3 will be Nicodemus, and then week 4 will be Paul. So it's going to be an exciting new series, and I hope you guys are here to enjoy it. But like I said, I have the honor of finishing out the Values series this week, and it's on social responsibility. And we'll get into what exactly that means in a little bit, but I have a guest that's going to be speaking with me today, and his name is Scott Brogan. Now, Scott Brogan is a very, very important person in my life. He's been my mentor for the last 4.5 years, and it's been an amazing relationship and one that I value very, very much. Now, Scott Brogan is what I like to call a serial entrepreneur. He started notable retail brands like Fresh Produce Sportswear, Sea Glass Lane, and Island Farm. But the reason I have him here today is his latest project that he's been working on. It's a rum company called Sea Spot Rum, and it's his first philanthropic effort. And what they do is they help people by helping dogs. So Suncoast, please help me welcome Scott Brogan to the stage.
Thank you, Ricardo.
Scott, thank you for being here. This is a topic that I know that you're very passionate about, social responsibility. So let's start with Sea Spot Rum. What is it, and what do you guys do?
Okay. So Sea Spot Rum is a rum company that gives 10% of its profits to service and guide dogs as well as humane societies. We're in the very beginning phase, but as I was telling somebody, we're not a small company. We're a large company in the beginning phases. And the whole goal is there's a tremendous amount of money that's being made. The alcohol and spirits industry, beer and wine, is not really known for philanthropic. And so the idea was to take some of that and eventually start off with 10% of the profits being shared and ultimately turn it into a nonprofit.
Wow.
Yeah.
It'll
be the first spirit company that's nonprofit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do as far as, how does that structure set up? You guys give your profit, or 10% of your profits. Where does it go?
So we're going to put it in locally. So if you're in Oregon and you're at a Total Wine and you buy Sea Spot Rum, then we're going to donate to the humane societies there, service and guide dogs, et cetera. But nationwide, every time you order a Sea Spot Rum drink that has the rum in it, we're going to feed one dog. So one drink feeds one shelter dog.
So it's that buy one, get one.
Which is the
model.
#1 expense that all shelters have across the country.
So you like to say we help people by helping dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, we call it Rum to the Rescue. Yeah. And the way Rum to the and our tagline is live like someone left the gate open, but we really want to give like someone left the gate open. And we just think it's right. Your generation, probably more than any other, has really, millennials don't necessarily like to donate their time and everything, but they'll support a company that will. And so we felt like, this is a great opportunity to do that. And so that was the thought.
What was the inspiration? What inspired you to create something like this?
I had a chance to go to Israel with the church about 8 years ago. And I remember, if you remember in Luke, Widowmites, and what happened was Jesus was watching the wealthy come in and give donations to the church. And he's like, you're not giving enough. You can do more. And a widow walked in, and a mite is the coin that they use over there. And she laid down all her mites. And it's called the story of the Widowmites. And his what Jesus said was, you're all in. And I really wanted to be all in. And there's a difference between being involved and being committed.
Well, what's the difference
And
there?
so a football coach famously said, he used a breakfast analogy, and he said, a chicken is involved in the egg. Okay? The pig is committed to the bacon. Okay? And there's a big difference, right? And so we really wanted to start a company that had that sort of corporate social responsibility. Plenty of people out there doing it. I've been inspired. Many of you guys know about Tom's shoes. You buy one, they give a pair away. Bombas socks, the number one and most requested thing in homeless shelters is socks. So every time you buy a pair, they give away a pair. Warby Parker is that way with eyeglasses. And it's all young entrepreneurs in your age group that do that.
I think there definitely has been a trend within the corporate and larger scale community to have, it's no longer a bonus if you have a philanthropic end to your company. It is almost a priority now. It's expected.
It is. It's the number one question we get asked. They're like, we started this company. Well, what are you going to do for others? It's the first question. And that's a tribute to you, really, truly to your generation. Henry Ford said a long time ago, if the only thing a business does is make profit, it's a poor business. So there's so much more to it. And there's a triple bottom line is what's going on in business now. And the triple bottom line is, everybody's familiar with bottom line is profit. But this is also, what are you doing for the planet? Are you using sustainable resources? Are you recycling? In the clothing industry, clothing uses a lot of water. So there's a lot of people that are taking this industry and making, what are the things we can do to save water and do it? And then, of course, there's people.
Yeah.
And that's the third part of the bottom line. And that is, what are you doing for your own employees? Are you setting up time so they can go volunteer for somebody else? Are you treating them well? Are you helping others that are less fortunate?
Yeah. So I have this idea of social responsibility broken up into two categories. So we have corporate social responsibility, community social responsibility. That's one side of it. But then there's individual social responsibility, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Yeah. But there's definitely, like you mentioned, there's this trend of becoming more socially responsible. I mean, obviously you've seen that. A lot of times I think as business owners, we're hyper-focused on the profit, and you have to be. You have to make sure that your company can sustain through the long run. But you get asked this question, what is the point of a business? What is the point of a company? What is the point of a community? Is it to make profit or to have a purpose? Yeah. And the answer is yes.
It's both.
It's both.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that obviously inspired you to have this purpose. And a lot of times, like as business owners, like I said, we are focused on profit. But we think that if we have some sort of give back program in our community, in our corporation, that we're going to sacrifice profits. There's this great story. His professor Alex Edmonds, he's at the London Business School. He did this long 4-year study to where he looked at businesses that had some sort of philanthropic end to their business and treated their employees well. He had used those as 2 markers for his measurement. And what he noticed is the companies that treated their employees well and had some sort of philanthropic effort, in the short term, showed less profit. But in the long term, over the 4 years of the study, they actually showed more profit. Their company did better. Their employees were happier.
Right.
What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, whether it's kindness personally or kindness in your business, if the purpose of doing it is to get more profits, then it's not authentic.
Right.
And so I think from a corporate standpoint, the idea is to bake it into your company, to make it part of your core values, not just to increase profit. You want to have profit because you want to be around. But if you're just doing it as a marketing tool, then it's just not authentic. And so the idea is to do it, and people can see through that, and I just feel like we really want to emphasize the fact that it's authentic. This is what we want to do. We want to consider ourselves a philanthropic company who happens to be in business.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there may be some people in this audience that are like, well, I don't have a company. I don't have a business. This means nothing to me. It's, social responsibility. Well, you're not off the hook, because this brings me to my next point, is we have an individual responsibility. Right. What does individual social responsibility mean to you?
Yeah. So I think it can be as simple as making a phone call to somebody you need to make a phone call to, that you owe them a call. Whether it was something bad that happened between you, it's a text to someone, it's walking by somebody with a smile, it's kindness, it's a compliment, it's listening to someone. I'm a big believer in really active listening. And I think God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you should use them in that ratio, right? So when someone's talking, if you're just looking at them and asking follow-up questions, and really, I don't think there's a greater gift. I think there's nothing louder in kindness than listening.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I was just listening to what you were saying. You were telling me earlier you're less concerned with I can't remember. It had something to do with the eulogy.
Yeah, so I think as I'm getting older, I'm permanently unimpressed by sales, the size of your house, your car. I think I'm spending the second half of my life getting rid of all those things and really narrowing it down to the things that I really think, like love and kindness and compassion for each other, It's just an incredible part of who I am now. So it's baked into who I am as a person. And I'm a real big believer. I heard a great story, and it was a guy who had a problem with road rage. And he drove up behind his car, and the car's driving really slowly. And he's just about ready to get on the horn and yell and scream. And he sees a sign on the back of the car, and it says, "Please be kind to me. I'm learning stick." And he's like, he sits back and he's like, I'm not going to let this bother me. She said, what a cute sign or whatever. But then he got to thinking while he was sitting there, he says, we all have those signs. We just don't see them. Be kind to me. I lost a child. Be kind to me. I was just diagnosed with cancer. Be kind to me personally. I just lost my dad to COVID, okay? And when I was leaving the hospital, I was trying to get in line for cars, and nobody would let me in. And I wanted to hold up this sign, be nice to me, please, let me through. My dad just passed from COVID. We all carry those signs.
Yeah. When Josh and I spoke a few weeks ago when we were doing about financial values, we talked about this idea of at your funeral, you talked about eulogy. At your funeral, people aren't going to talk about the cars that you drove and the houses that you had.
That's right.
They're going to talk about what you did
Yeah.
to help the people around you, how you made people feel.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing.
It is the most important thing. Have you ever gone to a eulogy and they said, well, he increased sales 10% here at PGT? No, they don't say that. I've been to enough eulogies, they do not say that, all right? And we call them resume virtues and eulogy virtues, and they're totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm learning that from you older guys. So I appreciate you pouring that into my life. There's this really great story. His name is another Scott. His name is Scott Harrison. And this guy, as a young entrepreneur myself, you would think, at the beginning of his life, so he's in his young 20s. He's living in New York. He's a club promoter. He's doing really well in business. He's hanging out with celebrities. He seems to be ticking all the boxes for just a successful life. And he's sitting there and he's looking at his life, as he's in a few years of this, and he's like, I'm miserable. And so what he does is he quits his job, leaves New York, and he becomes a photographer for a Christian organization named Mercy Ships. Now, what Mercy Ships does is they bring ship hospitals to third world countries that don't have access to good health care. So he's doing that, he's volunteering, and he's with this organization for 2 years. And he realizes that a lot of the causes that these people are coming to the hospital for could be rectified by just having access to clean water. So he gets inspired to start this organization, Charity Water. And this thing just explodes. And he is building wells all over the world and helping these communities that don't have access to clean water. And when you hear Scott now, when you listen to his story, he's the happiest guy in the world because he has truly found something that has inspired him and made his life feel like he's affecting change. And I think that's a really, really inspirational story.
They're really inspirational, and I think it can be a little intimidating for some of us to say, wow, but I'm starting a company and it's not going to be saving the world like this one is. But you can still do it in small increments, And I was reading a really good article about Neil Diamond, the singer. And they said, so what's the difference between the 70s, you being 70s, and when you were 30 or 40 years old? And he said, I have a peace now about being 70 because I came to the realization that I was never going to be Mozart. and as men, and I can't speak for women, but I'm sure there's many out there the same way, we're just so hard on ourselves. And we think, oh, wow, we can only donate or volunteer or raise money if we're this big corporation that has worldwide success. And it's not true. You can do it on the smallest level. And so I'm forgiving myself. I'm not even close to being Mozart. I just want to do a little thing for someone.
And I think, obviously, like you said before, like you've seen what really matters in life. When we were talking and prepping for this, this idea of social responsibility seemed to be centered around finances. Like, what am I doing with my money? But that's not what we're talking about. Now we're talking about being social responsible means being kind. What are you doing to give of your time?
Yeah, exactly.
So the analogy we said, if I call you and I'm like, hey, Scott, I need a ride to the doctor's office. Could you help me out? If he responds to me like, absolutely, I'll pay for your Uber to go, or he says, absolutely, I'll drive you, I'll sit with you in the waiting room, and I'll drive you home, one of those two requires more sacrifice. And
I'll never do the Uber one again, I promise. Okay. No. All right, just one mistake, all right?
It's just really staying with me. I don't know. You really affected me there. But the giving of your time is so much more of a sacrifice. But that's what's really important.
No, it sure is.
And obviously here at Suncoast, we have tons of opportunities for you to volunteer your time. Not just, give of your money, that's great, and we appreciate that because we're able to do a lot with that, but also of your time.
Yeah.
So what have you done as far as like with your organization? What do you guys do as far as like participating within the community? I know you're at Southeastern Guide Dogs all the time.
Yeah, so we're just starting out. So it's one of those things where it can be daunting because you realize you're trying to start a company and you're trying to have profits and you're trying to donate, but you're just starting out, So we've been selling merchandise for a couple of years before the rum came out. 2020 was not the best time to open up a rum company in St. Martin's. Primarily, St. Martin's closed for 6 months, and industry in general, So we're getting started now. And so the intention is we've given money to Southeastern. We would love to give a lot more. We want to help the Sarasota Humane Society. And there's an organization called Satchel's Last Resort. And they take dogs that are in kill shelters. And they bring them to Sarasota. And I encourage you to look it up. It's a wonderful organization. And we're going to donate money to them as well. So that's just locally.
Yeah.
In St. Martin's, where we make the rum, we have a large distillery there, and so we donate a lot of those profits as we get running to St. Martin's area because they've got a lot of dogs that are there. So it's a little bit locally everywhere, So if you're in Oregon, it'll be and you're buying from Oregon, it'll be a dog place there.
Right.
You know, if you're somewhere in New England, it'll be somewhere there. But we just felt like helping dogs and helping dogs help humans was really just in our brand the way to go.
Yeah.
You know, I come from a father who was a disabled vet. And so not only was he 100% disabled as a vet, but he was also blind and he was also deaf. So talk about,
Yeah.
you know, being in the wheelhouse for someone with a service or guide dog. It was, it's personal to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, you know, this idea of kindness. You know, you were telling me, we were talking about this story, and I can't remember. It's You're Gonna Find That Here story. What is that?
Yes, right. So I like to spend some summers in Maine. I've been going up there for 30 years. There's a great story about an old man sitting on a porch, and he's just rocking. A young couple comes pulling up in a car, and they said, you know, we're thinking about moving to Maine. How do you find the people here? And he looked at him. He said, well, how do you find the people where you're from? And they said, well, you know, we're from New York. People can be obnoxious. They can be aggressive. They can be not kind. I mean, they can be not nice people. And he said, I don't know, I think you're going to find the same thing here. So about an hour later, he's sitting on the porch, and another couple comes driving by, and they're in a car. And they say the same question. You know, we're thinking of moving to Maine. You know, how are the people here? And he asked the same question. He said, how do you find the people where you're from? He said, they are the nicest people in the world. They're kind. They would give you a ride anywhere. They would take the shirt off their back. They would raise money for you. These are incredible, salt-of-the-earth people. And the Mainer looked at him and said, you're going to find the same thing here.
So it's that idea of your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah, you bring the weather with you, you know. And I think kindness and I think authenticity and I think vulnerability are magnetic. And they attract people like that.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, you know, there's almost like this ripple effect, right? So if you're a kind person, you tend to, if you're a kind and positive person, you tend to attract people that are in that same boat.
And I think one of the hardest things is to be kind to unkind people, right? I mean, it's easy to be kind to another kind person, but I think when someone is not nice to you, I think the lesson that we can all learn from that is that not to take it personally, that this person is going through some kind of, you know, hurt people is the expression. And that if you can look at them again with that sign on their chest that says, hey, I'm this way because, you know, there's some hurt inside me. Because as you know, Jesus, he didn't just hang around people that were all that great. He hung around with, you know, longshoremen essentially,
right.
You know, as his disciples and the Pharisees and the lepers or whatever. And I think that's really one of the things in life.
Yeah, I mean, he told us, you know, love your neighbors, but he also told us love your enemies.
Yeah.
And that's the hard one,
Yeah.
you know. But I think I love the reframe of that. Like somebody, if we had that shirt that said, you know, this is what I'm going through, you know, I think if we can take that more compassionate position when anybody's, it's hard to do. I mean, you know, I love that story with, you know, driving up on somebody and they're just going slow. I get annoyed by that. I'm sure you do too. But if you just realize, like, hey, you know, I'm learning how to drive a stick, you know, or whatever it may be, you know, you can take that
and
more.
Don't take it personally when someone's unkind, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It drives Manon crazy.
Who's that?
My other half. It drives her crazy because if we get really bad service, I come from Four Seasons hotels background, right? So I'm spoiled, you know, when it comes to good service. So I'm kind of tough on service. I have pretty high standards, but I've learned to just relax or whatever with it. But if I get really bad service from a waitress or whatever, it drives her crazy because I'll ask her story. I'm like, where are you from? And my whole idea is to try and convert her to really having a good day. And I want her at the end of the day to say, you know what, I ran across this one customer and he treated me well, you know, and maybe I made it easier for the next customer.
Yeah.
But I consider it a challenge, you know. Mm-hmm. If anyone saw Mr. Rogers' movie, he used to zoom in on those people that really were not very nice, and he considered it a personal challenge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that was... So the more important than anything else is kindness, because you never know what that ripple effect is going to happen. I mean, you were in Oregon, and you told me a story that you were at this the spot that this bar owner in Oregon had different
Yes, right. So one of my inspirations, and the word inspiration comes from in spirit, right? So you're in spirit. And it was a bar in Oregon. Portland is the #1 capital of nonprofits. And it's a really cool bar. You walk in and you order a pint of beer, and there are 6 charities up on the wall. And you get to pick which one of these charities you want this pint of beer to go to. And it's the world's first nonprofit bar. But what he's done is he's inspired a lot of other people, including me. He has no idea he inspired me. But I read where he had like 1,500 requests of people that want to do something similar. And I'm reminded of some of the people that are my age, closer to it. Remember Lou Reed, the musician? He wrote Walk on the Wild Side, whatever. Well, anyway, Lou Reed, when he passed and they gave a eulogy for him, they said Lou Reed sold 10,000 albums, but he inspired 10,000 bands. And that's even more important than selling 10,000 albums, So each and every one of us, I often think that maybe I'm the only Bible anybody's ever going to read.
Right.
So maybe I can model my behavior. It's an aspiration. I fall short all the time. But it's my goal to try and do that, and I try and walk that walk. Yeah. A friend of mine says, he has a great line, he's a psychologist, he says, take my advice right now, I'm not using it. So, the guy yesterday that cut in front of me, if he's out here, I'm really sorry, but no, it's what we aspire for.
So if we could surmise this whole idea of social responsibility, and they're going to put this on the screen, it's our one and only point today, is that social responsibility is about treating others well. And I think that's a perfect summary of what our responsibility is about treating each other well.
Absolutely.
Well, Scott,
Pleasure.
It's been awesome to have you on stage. And can you guys help me?
Yes. Thank you.
Let me pray with you, and then I have one closing story. Father, as we come before you this morning, and we just talk about the things that you have called us to do, the #1 thing is to love and to be kind and to treat others well. Even when they aren't nice to us or treat us well, that is what you have called us to do. And Lord, I know we will fall short of that, but I pray that we have that heart, that we treat each other well, and that is our #1 responsibility. We love you and we praise you. Amen. So when we were prepping for this story, and I know you've heard this story before, but I wanted to share this with you. This idea of kindness and taking care of each other, having a ripple effect. So about 12 years ago, I was not here at Suncoast. I was in a church in Port Charlotte, and I had just decided to resign. And I was in a really, really tough place. I had been at this church my entire life. This is where I fell in love with music. This is where I created my love for what I do now. I was just in a low place, and I was looking for another church community. And I just wasn't having very much luck. And by chance, I just so happened to get a call from a friend that I hadn't talked to in a while. They had heard that I had left, and they knew I was really struggling. So they called me, and they're like, hey, I know it's a long shot, but I'm at this church up here in Sarasota named Suncoast Community Church, and I think you'd really enjoy it. And that's it. That's all he said, and I thought about it for a little while. It was one of those situations where I'm like, it's a solid 45-minute drive. It's a long, and even if I love it, like that's a lot of driving. That's a lot of time to be committed to. But I wasn't having luck, so I just decided to come. And the minute I walked through those doors, I felt at home. This community is so welcoming to everyone. I got to meet Pastor Larry. He was in the Grand Hall. It was such a unique, I don't know if you guys have been to other churches, but usually the pastor isn't out in the Grand Hall until the very moment he comes on stage, and then he's out there again. That really stuck out to me. And then I walked in and I was like, obviously the music is amazing. This band is so good. And I wanted to be a part of it. And here we are 12 years later, and I'm sitting here talking with you guys. This is where I met my wife. I got married here. I get the honor to call you guys my community. But I think about this a lot. what happened if that friend didn't call me? What happened if that friend that knew that I was struggling didn't invite me? I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have Leighton in London, my 2 little girls, and I wouldn't be here with you guys. And what I want to say is that you never know what one act of kindness can do for someone's life. And it has an amazing ripple effect. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful to be here with you guys this morning. So go out, be kind. It's your responsibility. We love you. Thank you, Suncoast.